Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny. If you hear new, hit subscribe buttons and notification bell so you can never miss any our incredible content. Taxi app node backends app and backends API inside today we need to create here. The driver send request fires functions need to call this here as well as need to set here the cron virtual cron need to settings we need to create here if sometimes after driver not accept any action not take any actions automatically cancel this driver request and to send here the new available drivers request sends like this logic need to create inside this API. First of all need to write down here the one functions and to give this here the names functions driver send request fire and now need to give this here the parameters booking detail and driver details also need here and is send push notifications send notifications functions need to like this need to calling these here's these functions may need to calls here parts we need to call here's driver request fires need to call this here's and now need to give this here the booking details and also need to give this here the driver details need to get here this driver details here this query inside to get this here the driver information so need to get this here and we need to give this here the driver informations need to give this here the index as a I need to pass this here as a driver ID copy here now paste this here and also need to give this here the send push we need to write down here the true like here and else parts we need to calls here the driver file request and give this here booking details and to give this here the results of like 0 and to send here. If you not any sockets live, then to directly send this here the first users who need to send inside the this push notifications like this you need to write down here the functions and to calling this here and then after you need to like this codes you need to write down here and now need to this codes inside need to write down here the all codes related first of all need to create here the request related need to create here the tokens if these tokens is are the valid then need to calling this here first of all need to identify here the tokens creating generating names we need to request tokens like this copy here's and to create here one tokens for this ride to give this here the request tokens provide here the tokens to call this here helper dots need to give this here the create tokens API need to call this here these functions to get this here the random token generates here and now need to write down here the log print here need to creating tokens done request token create like this is the print this logs here's now this booking details inside we need to set here the driver ID first of all like this is equal to need to give this here driver details dots user ID like this we need to set here and then after we need to write down here the booking details dots we need to write down here the request tokens need to create here and also need to check this here these smalls. Because need to always use here the lowercase columns names. That's why I need to use this here always lowercase, and this typecase you need to use this here. Now format this text, and then after so need to check this here and to give this here the request times. Need to details and need to set here the accept times. Request time need to send here, and we need to check this here accept times. Maybe need to depends here the top years and to manually change this years in you insert the seconds. We need to request time request action. View this here 30 seconds. Maybe you need to give this here the 2 minutes is good. Means 20 120 seconds. I mean second. Like this, we need to calling this here this years, and we need to configure these times. Give this here the time. And then afterwards need to configure here the next things we need to configure. And now need to write down here the where already request sends is equal to need to put this here booking details dots need to get this here the request driver id. This parameter inside to get this here the already first of all need to find out here the already request sends equal to blank. Then you need to directly set this here this value already request sends inside booking detail dot need to give this here give this here direct details copy here paste this here and write down here the toString. If not, then we have to concat here this value is equal to plus or minus plus give this here like these conditions. We need to apply this here these conditions, and now we need to check this here. First of all, so need to write down here the db query and to update this here the data or related to booking tables. Set here booking detail table set. We need to set here the driver id which our drivers need to send this request to this here the driver id and question mark. Then afterwards need to update here request sends driver list. We need to update this here need to update these columns and append these drivers question mark. And we need to write down here where conditions need to write down here booking id is equal to question mark and to write down here semicolons. And another query we need to write down here also updates here specific this user drivers. We need to update this here this data, and we need to active this flag is request sends. We need to active here this flag inside this user. Need to write down here select and to write down here. Not select, need to use this here the update query. User detail and set here is request send. This is the column inside these tables, and you want to write down here set here where conditions and user ID and question mark like this need to set here, and then afterwards you need to set this here the booking details dots need to calling this here the driver ID. Use this here this driver ID to give this directly. This is possible, so need to put this here this driver, and then need to give this here already send request parameters need to pass this here, and also need to give this here the booking details booking ID dot booking ID, and then afterwards need to give this here set here the flag, so need to set here the one for sending this request for this specific users, so need to update here to give this write down here this driver booking ID already sent like this, need to give here this flag, and then afterwards need to give this function here the callbacks errors or result two parameters need to return here, and to use this here the function operators, and when to write down here if errors, and we need to write down here the helper dot throw html errors dot not returns here the results because need to call this here the functions need to return directly here if you gets any errors, and to print this here, and now need to print this here the check keys helper dot delog, and to this delog into only purpose for the creating here the tokens, which tokens need to send these drivers because we need to save inside the server memory, not inside save any database. That's why I need to print here because after it's not gets here the these details. The ID means driver ID, and we need to set here the space to write down here driver details dot user ID like this. We need to give this here for printing for these tokens, and also need to print here the results for this query logs, and to this here the result like this. Now we need to check this here the if conditions. First of all, need to results slash 10, and index wise we need to get this here affected slope more than 0, and results set here 1, and to get here affected slope more than 0, and need to successfully send this request are the creating sales request are the creating db update else help, and to print here the logs. No any actions need to take this here. You gets here the page. Maybe booking tail up like this. Print here logs, and also need to print this here that the says booking details create successful like this. Need to apply this like here. Now need to create here one more things. Need to get here successfully, and this db functions outside. Need to write down if send push notifications is flagged as active, then to firing here the actions. Need to first of all need to create here the buttons. Maybe need to write down here the letters and request. Need to calls here, one signals, need to use this here. Only need to write down here one common functions and to write down like this. One signal push. Fine. And we need to pass this here the user type and need to give this here tokens array tokens sending tokens here and need to give this here the notification type notification id and write down here the message and also need to pass this here the message data like these parameters need to creating seers and to write down here the optional create create here the functions for the sending push notifications. We need to like this create here the functions and to calling this here. First of all, need to send this here the push notification. Call this here these functions one signals push fires. We need to give this here the user tabs. We need to pass this here the two because this driver need to send here the driver users. That's one pass this here the two. Then after need to give this here the tokens. Need to find out here the driver details inside the push token. Maybe need to get here so, and request identify here these users booking informations and we need to get this here source as push tokens of here and we need to give this here this way. This is the push tokens. Now need to give this here the notifications ID. First of all, need to define here the all push notification ID need to declare. Otherwise, need to maybe make mistakes. Need to write down here the all push related sort tokens need to declare here and also need to set here the titles message. Need to print this. First of all, need to call this here the globally declare like this flags user types. Now need to give this here notifications ID. Now need to create here the const and to write down here the ID as a notifications nt give this here ID is equal to need to give this here the 0. 0 means we need to give this here the admin push not admin need to give this here 1 to start new request like this as we need to give this here 1 and const nt plus id is equal to like this. We need to copy and paste many id we need to create here. Now need to give second id. Need to set here the accept request. Set here to. Then after need to send this here. Try cancels for 3. Then we need to set this here the ports If number duties here, maybe fourth is a right, right start that here force. Fifth means if right you need to give this here the right complete. Maybe you need to give this here the status wise give the right good. Maybe now need to give this here the 6 ID. Need to write down here the driver not available. As a 6. Then after 7 number ID need to give this here driver. Like this, we need to creating here these years. We need to change this year. What else need to same as we need to status wise need to set this years is good for implementations and starts means maybe right cancels and to give this here 6 right starts we need to give this here the force right completes we need to give this here the high. But here paste this here so we need to wait paste to set here waiting for this here the 3. Then after need to driver goes maybe not gets here the push notifications request sends need to not set here the 0, that's why I need to use here the ones like this you need to calling this here the push notifications and also need to write down here the titles need to set here write down copy this here this id need to paste this here and to give this here as a titles need to check this id like first titles need to give this here the new request. Then after titles need to set this here the accept driver allocate driver driver accepted. Acts. Then after for the waitings driver is waiting. Then after ride started. Then after ride completed. Ride cancels and driver not available. like this. And to create like these titles and we and to call here. Now need to sending here the request and now need to create here the message. And this here the titles is the forget here like this. And now need to give this here the ID for the firing here push. Need to send here the titles to write down here and anti ID request. Now need to set here anti titles for new request and need to write down here the pickup locations and to write down here the booking details dot pickup address like this and need to pass here the data related to write. You need to pass here the data value message. Just of course need to give this here the booking ID. Need to needs here booking details dot booking ID like this. Then after need to needs here the request tokens need to give this here the request tokens need creating here for request tokens give this here parameter token and we need to write down here request tokens like this and then after need to give this here the service name need to write down here booking details dot service name parameters need to use this here then after need to need this here the colors for this booking details dot need to give this here color and after need to give this here the name property for these users need to write down here booking details dot name then after need to give this here the pickup times booking details dot so need to calling this here is a date times need to convert inside the MySQL date formats need to ISO formats need to convert maybe you need to check this here ISO maybe need to write down here helper dot is ISO date to give this here helper delogs and to calling this here calling here's MySQL it functions and to pass this here the dates need to give this years details rods pick up MC. Maybe not send, maybe possible because we need to get save inside this balance because always need to send here the now request. That's why no need to send this here the pickup dates, but need to maybe futures inside the schedule rights need to book and need to need this here the pickup dates. That's why I need to put this here. Now need to give this here the pickup uh, address and to write down here putting detail dot pickup address. Then afterwards need to give this here the pickup latitudes and prop latitudes. Pickup here inside this booking and to let this here pickup let down use this here is naming conventions. See, need to write down here the book detail dots need to call this here the pickup let and pickup prop let pickup longitudes need to give this here booking details dot pickup longitudes and also need to use this here details. Maybe this function inside no need this here the passing this data request type request notification ID need to remove here to give this here the directly notifications ID is equal to notifications CS like this. You need to write down CS and need to give this here the pickup last accept times. You need to put this here accept at time. Need to write down here helper dot server date time check this here options server times at the minutes copy here. Maybe this accept times need to maybe save here the request times which accept need to this here the titles and also need to write down here use here the booking dot accept time. Then afterwards need to give this here the date format request timeout settings. Now to call this here the helper dot call these functions. Now time inside add here the minute check here integer or string. Need to check here accept types. Set yes. We need to declare here outside. Okay. Now access this and we need to add all these here being request need to add here like these functions and also need to check this here the format. This format is good, no any issue. Need to directly call this here this functions. Now need to give this here the minimum kilometers. No need this here. Maybe this data for the enough for the request except for the drivers. That's what need to call this here like this here. And one more things, if you calling this here and now need to set this here virtual cron need to create here virtual cron create request send to get it like declare or timeout or need to need this here the clones. That's why need to creating here the one clones for these apps and to write down here the one functions for here functions and to write down here driver send request timeout to configure here this data. First of all, need to give this here the booking details dot booking ID. We need to get this year's booking ID and need to need here the driver ID and also need to need this here the request tokens and to set here the times. How many times we need to set this here for this request. Now need to write down here the one time cron need to create here need to set here the set timeout functions and to create here the virtually on servers. Use this here the server memory and send to this here this data and also need to give this here the time multiply by that's because need to give this here the milliseconds need to set here like this here and then after also need to write down here the request pending. Maybe you need to create here the one array for this here the declarations. To create this pending array Like this need to declare here and to identify here this clone and to scroll down and to write here the request pending array and to give this here request tokens specifics need to set this here this clone need to save this here inside the memory and then after need to write down here the create here the logs and write here one time cron request time over need to call this here like this split here and also need to write down here the db query and to reset this here specific drivers set the detail and to set this here is request send need to set this here where user id question mark and need to write down sales set here 0 and to give this here the driver id and to get this here the errors results or this here results to call this here function operators like this need to check here gets any errors and to helper dot draw HTML errors prints here like this and to return this results and now need to check here results dot affected row more than 0 and to print here the successfully helper dot reload to write down here driver id change success and to use this here the driver id like this to print this here and also need to find out here the another driver waste is the important parts find out send new drivers because these driver are not accept no any take any operations that's why I need to calling here the next bookings need to view this here need to calling this here and new drivers and and send request for this to write down here the functions for the booking ID. Twice need to get this all information and again need to send this process need to continue. This process need to continue. Last not find out here any drivers for this request then to give this here the 7 numbers status need to fire. No driver counts need to call this here the status and to close this booking request to like this need to create here the logics and you need to copy this here these lines need to set here and to give this here the id change fails for this drivers And one more thing, so you need to write down here and remove these functions for the pending area for these tokens, request tokens wise. Need to remove here, so need to write down here another functions. Need to write down remove tokens in pending area. Give this here the tokens. Here. Clear timeouts. Need to call this here and give this here the request pending area and to give this here the token this here. Now call this here the deletes and also need to remove this here this area inside like this and to write down here helper dot relogs and to print this here delete plus signs need to add this here the tokens and also need to print this here the fix here the type and to save this here and to call these functions after need to calling this here this last here token like this. And to clearing these tokens for the these clones like this you need to calling these years and these methods need to save these years and one more things you need to creating years for this request need to need this here find out here another functions need to write down here for sending driver of these functions by hook ID pass this here the booking value and create here these functions write down here functions booking ID like this need to creating here the functions and to calling this here for this specific bookings. You need to copy here some things. You need to send this here. First of all, you need to find out here the details. Maybe need to do this here. Request here. Need to call this. Need this data. Need to copy here and do some changes are the needs inside here. To find out here, these functions need to paste this here as a send booking ID. Paste this here. Also need to print here the log helper dlog and you need to write down sales and to give this here for the driver click process processing this log are the printing means you need to find out here the another drivers like this you need to calling this here or this app and depends here the conditions and conditions need to apply here. AD dot booking status. Maybe needs more conditions. Except driver ID is equal to not equal to blank. Like this, you need to conditions. You need to check this here. Maybe issue another status need to use this here. Status check and conditions and two times over this brackets. Like this, need to set this here. Now need to pass here as a booking ID instance. Then after the pending status and methods start status. ESK start left. Like this, if pending or if started and not started and not accepted. Like this, need to check this here the conditions. Need to calling this here and to call this here the API and send request. You need to firing this here. And one more things you need to view this here. If you get here the status as a two means no driver counts. New booking re- no driver status need to found here means this status. Then we need to fire here the one sockets. Results zero dot accepted driver ID will equal to black and here's else parts with equals equals need to driver one a driver are they accepted but need to findings here the callings here the recalls need to another driver finds because he is busy not taking his request as far as possible. So need to find out here the other drivers. If you not found other drivers, then to continue here, this users need to always take this persons and to call here the request because this driver not cancel these rides. Not for like this. And also Now need to find out here the driver information. For this year and to sending here the push no driver found available like this and here select give this here the user ID and also need to need this here the device tokens from user tables. Write down here the where conditions give this here user ID and write down query results 0 and to give this here maybe not results this here booking info and to get this here the accepted driver ID and to all these informations written here errors and results. If gets any errors and to throw this in per row tables and also with this here error functions. If need to check here results land more than 0 then to fire here a push notification one signal push fires and to pass this here the parameters first of all use this here the driver send use this here the UD drivers and now need to send here the tokens use this here results 0 and to get here the maybe change use this here these columns and need to give this here right here and then after need to give this here the titles the driver not available for P titles and now need to send here the message recall driver not available and to pass this here the booking ID booking info dot this here booking ID like this passing here this value and also need to do this here the notification rate and to give this here 27 like this sending here for the this push notifications and now need to find out here this connect users need to send here the request users need to send here the sockets for the not available driver sockets need to fire here need to go first of all the send request inside need to find out here the one sockets need to use these codes need to copy here these codes and we need to go here now need to get this here the driver sockets need to give this here the user ID and you need to get here the data is the results pass this here the result and give this here the accepted level. Then find out here the sockets, clear this here, this no needs, and need to send this here sockets, need to give this here driver not available, sockets names need to give like this here. And now need to create here the response, need to set here. Now remove this here these lines. Now need to set this here the booking ID, is equal to, need to give this here the booking ID is. Then afterwards you need to set here the booking status. VS dot not, and also need to give this here the message driver not available. Like this you need to send here this user's message. Same as you need to copy this codes and to put this here and give this here, change this driver socket, user sockets, and need to give this here user ID. And to find out here the data related to these tokens and to send this here the driver not available, need to response need to send this here for these users. Same as need to same. Both our response are the same. Maybe need to change was here the recall drivers, not normal drivers. That's why I need to like this sets these conditions. Copy this codes and to same as need to paste this here this data. But here paste here and same as need to booking inside need to give this here the response, need to print this here. And also need to response need to give this here the booking API, and this booking parts are the complete for the driver request sends. This flow are the done, but next video inside need to continue here the accept logics, cancel logics, need to apply here the start writes logic. Like this different booking status need to change for the some status are the changing for the user app, and some status need to changing for the driver app to hiring here the changing status logics need to apply this here. But now need to calling this here the this booking request response need to returns here after the sending here the request. Maybe no need this years already returns here to print this here help log, and need to new request send callback all these equals, and need to check status is equal to 1. and starts. Maybe need to return this here the sessions. Or see status. Set here the lower ports in one. Not also need to give this here the two equal. Not driver bounds. Set here message. Booking info, and also need to give this here the payload. Give this here the this results need to return this here, the booking. Copy here and paste this here like this to give this here the one, and need to send success. Get like this the response here saved, and this is the process for the booking. You need to save this here this data. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.